Most traders don't lose because they can't read a chart. They lose because they show up unprepared. Before you place your first trade this week, answer this. What's your plan if the market gaps up or dumps at the open? If you don't have an answer, you're gambling. Today, we're turning you into a prepared trader with a step-by-step pre-Monday open prep routine you can repeat every single week. Let's go. Welcome to Beyond the Trade, where the levels don't lie, the trades hit hard, and we're here to cut through the noise. No scripts, no safety nets, just raw market talk. Lock in. It's time to go Beyond the Trade.
Beyond the Trade is for educational entertainment purposes only. Nothing you hear should be taken as financial advice. Always do your own research and consult a qualified professional before making investment decisions. There it is, buddy. I love the energy.
We are here, and we are here to share a little bit of a different format here. We're going to, go through maybe a little bit less on the charts, a little bit more in the brain. And I think the brain is a very important part of our body. Wouldn't you say, Mike?
That's what they tell me. That's what they tell me.
That is usually what they say. So,
I'm excited for this one. This is a good one, I think. I think back to when I first really wasn't day trading, but I was investing in the stock market. There was no real research that I did. I didn't do anything. You saw a company you liked, and back then it was Dell. They were the hot company. I bought Dell, made money, and thought I knew everything. Then I come back into it during COVID, and boy, was there a lot to learn. And this will change. If you're struggling and you're not doing any of this stuff, man, it will make a difference for you, big time.
Bingo. And I would say, if you don't have a plan before the bell, again, like it says at the bottom, no plan equals emotional trading, because if there's no plan, there's no structure, there's no framework. What are you running off of? Emotions. And usually those emotions come from not thinking.
Yeah,
They come emotions come first.
Yep. You show up at 9:30 on Monday with no plan, you're gambling. That's it.
Well, there you go. Mike just gave away which time zone he lives in. Oh, wow. Oh. Okay. When it comes to primary watch list names, this is very important. I always tell people you get comfortable with certain things, and then you trade those things regularly. You hear us talk about many of the same names over and over, and that's because everything has a personality. Every stock has a different personality. And even if you're just trading, different indices, right? Even those have different personalities. Commodities, they all have different personalities. It's almost like people. So when it comes to primary watch list names, the things that I'm watching are generally the ones that I'm most comfortable trading and have traded a lot in the past. Now, okay, Adam, I've never traded this one before. I've never traded anything before. How do I learn? Great. Start small. Don't jump right into something you've never traded before, because you may not know how those ups and downs feel. It's very good to start small in something that you've never traded before. Learn the ups and downs, track the chart closely for a few days, and then feel how the volatility is before you dig more and put more in. That's my take.
And I think every trader has, whether they know it or not, you have your own somewhat of a personality when it comes to stocks, and not all stocks are going to jive with you. It's like dating. If it's just coming around a date doesn't mean you're going to make it. It's, I like each other, but it's just not there. Same with stocks. I have a hardest time, and I don't know why. I still don't know the answer, but Apple kills me every time I play it. I think I know it, but I don't. But I can play SPY, I can play Tesla, and I know those so well inside and out. I know their personality, that my odds are way higher there than they are if I switch over to play Apple. I could see something on Apple and think this is where it's going, and I'm getting out of a trade early in the red. I don't know. For whatever reason, I can't trade Apple. But, I guess what I'm saying is don't play around a little bit. What, and this is where your prep for the week will help you. If you go through and pinpoint 5, 6, 7 stocks, 10 stocks, and write down the levels you think they might hit or what they might do, and then review it at the end of the week and see how right you are. The ones that you were right on are the ones that you probably match well with. Just a thought.
Yeah. And then my conditions that keep us sidelined, for me, it's if I had a plan on a certain point that I would like to enter a certain stock, if it's not there, I'm not playing it. Also, if I feel like I am forcing a trade because I may not, you never know what's going to happen next. But if I feel like I genuinely do not have a good gauge on what's going to happen next, whether that be, say it's a big gap down, say it's a big gap up, there's sometimes the move has already happened, and if there's a big 1% gap in either direction overnight, you need to often wait, sidelines wise, and also for the first 30 minutes is kind of a big rule for myself, is if you're making decisions in the first 30 minutes, sometimes those are just testing the key levels that they're going to establish. It will become more clear throughout the day. So if you're patient, if there's a big move, the main conditions that would keep me sidelined is if there's a big move before the market even opens, because generally it's going to be very volatile after that. It could go one way or another, but you don't know. Maybe it just stays flat. Generally, I prefer flatter days that go and touch a key level that I am comfortable trading off of.
Yeah, in a way, I'm somewhat opposite on certain stocks, I guess. It depends. I mean, there's some times where when there's a huge, I use orbs, and those indicators that I use, if there's 2 or 3 of them hitting, it's not unheard of that I'll get into a trade 15 minutes into the market open. But you also have to be very careful when that happens, because it'll go quite the opposite on you a lot of times. But you have to go with what have a plan. I guess that's really the bottom line. If you have a plan, stick with it. But waiting 30 minutes is pretty good, and that's where most of mine come in. When I look back, I would say that I'm not making very many trades before that 30-minute mark, unless there's an awful lot of alignment on my indicators.
Love it.
But I tend to play a little bit more on the riskier side, I guess, than I probably should. But I also have rules so I get out if it doesn't work out. I'm not hanging around all day in it.
Love it.
But
we've talked about themes before, and I think this is also very important when you're preparing on Monday, and every day's got a new theme. And so when it comes to kind of sectors that may be moving, right? For example, a lot, sometimes the semiconductor, sector, tech sector may be moving a lot more than your consumer staples, right? But there's always rotation in between these, and you can check all of the different XLY, XLK. There's the tickers for the individual ETFs for kind of each of the different sectors, and so that's a really good way to track each day what's going and what's not. Maybe nothing may be moving in any other sector except for healthcare. So there's always some sort of sector rotation going on. When tech gets extended, they will then sell tech and buy something else, or they'll buy commodities, or they'll buy, because you've seen a lot of this. A lot of gold and silver being bought or squeezing shorts, or rare earth metal companies, or Mike, I know you have something to add here.
I was just going to say, read the room. If what's in the news right now, we've got a lot of stuff going on with military. Well, defense stocks are hot. When you've got somebody come out with some new chip, all of a sudden semiconductors get hot again, and it does rotate from one to another. But reading the news and keeping up on what's going on weekly will give you an indication when you start talking about revamping healthcare. Boom, healthcare, is it good or bad for those companies out there is the first thing you need to realize. But yeah, every week there seems to be some sector that's going to be hot. And if you look at it, you'll see it on Wednesday going, wow, this thing's been running all week. Yeah, well, the news has been out there, for the last 2 weeks. Everybody's been talking about it. Of course it's running.
I mean, the same thing. Yeah, exactly. Like as soon as Trump talks about Ozempic, right, you're going to get HIMS and NVO and all the different, what are they called? Semi-glutides, whatever, all those GLP-1s, they're all going to run, right? So, but the thing is, usually when they're running, you don't want to be the exit liquidity. You don't want to be the people that are being sold into, and you want to try to beat that rush. And so if you can, think about what things are going to run, what has run and has what was running and then has taken a break, and you think maybe looking to run again, right? Yeah. So you don't want to. It's more buy the dips, sell the rips, and that's where for me when it comes to when is it a valid or an invalid trade, and for me I would be wanting to buy things off of support and not buy breakouts. I like to buy, once you break through, for example, a resistance, right? I don't want to buy that breakout. I want to wait for it to break out and then come retest that resistance that is now support and then buy it from there. And then if it breaks under that, then my risk level is very low.
Yep, I like it. I mean, semiconductors, AI, data centers, that's all the hot talk right now. But you got to look at what are the other ones. People get antsy when they're in these things too long and they're looking for what's the next move. Where's the market going? Where's the money going, basically? Follow the money.
And whenever it's the thing that's pretty hot, hot topic in the news, generally I would, I'd be careful around those, and make sure that you're taking your profits along the way because they're going to be volatile. And also, you kind of want to buy stuff when people's not talking about it, right? Mm-hmm. Whenever it's doom and gloom, I like to say that. Doom and gloom. Whenever it's the most doom and gloom possible, I like to start buying. But sometimes that doesn't work. Sometimes that doesn't work, so don't try to catch a falling knife. Always try to let a little bit of a support and, of a bottom form. You're going to get plenty of opportunities. Plenty of opportunities. Things don't just top or bottom in one single day.
Yeah, and some news makes the market move a lot quicker than others. Obviously, like all of a sudden, last week that whole tariff thing again. I mean that has an instant effect on pretty much everything in the market. But I mean, we can't control those. They come out. But use things like I would suggest you follow like Yahoo Finance. Find a good news site that you have up, or you can even set alerts that they come to your phone if you want them. If you're watching, and I don't recommend you sit there on X all day looking at news feeds, but if you glance over to some of the financial news sites, they give you up to the minute news, and you see something, 2 or 3 things starting to pop, and you're in a play that I might want to get out of this or look at expanding onto it. You just gotta. It comes with some learning, because you're right. Once the news is out, people already knew about it before it was released. In a lot of cases, the move has already happened before we get the news. Sometimes.
Yep. Yeah, I completely agree. It's and a lot of times once that move happens, it's like you'll always see these things. They get run up into the move, and then the move happens, and then maybe the move gets sold. You always hear the term, sell the news. And so that brings us to kind of this next slide here. Unusual volume or pre-market movers, right? A lot of times you could be tempted when there's a lot of volume pre-market on something. Like, for example, the ticker USAR, United States USA Resources or something. It's a rare earth metals company. They just announced this morning that that Trump is buying 10% of it, or the U.S. government is buying 10% of it. All right, so that thing is probably going to go from closing at $24 on Friday to potentially $40. And so, what should you do here? Great idea. Great thought. Well, I'm just going to slap all of the rare earth metal companies, all of them. Okay. If you go look at USAR, this is not just USAR, it's any stock that has a big move. You go look at it. How much did it move the day before that move got announced? How much? You go look. I'll tell you. USAR was up, I think, 15% on Friday.
Yeah.
Right? So guess who's going to be selling on Monday?
And it was even bigger on Thursday.
Right. And so definitely, if you're in options, like if you're trading options, certainly do not go slap options on something like this. The implied volatility is going to go whew high. The best thing when there is unusual volume or pre-market movers is to put it on a watch list and watch it. Do not force a trade on it. Next, and I know Acro loves his orbs, and he loves his VWAP too, and his pre-market highs and lows. I'd say
you
always
nailed them all right in there.
Always, that got them all here. You always should be looking at your pre-market highs and lows, because if you're not looking at them, they oftentimes will. You may make a decision and then go, oh my gosh, why did I sell my longs at pre-market low, even though it was below the session low, right? So, and also if you're just looking at the market in general and you're wondering, when is the bottom going to be? I don't know. And it may, the best time that I think to look at the highs and lows and why there's indicators on, TradingView and stuff to where it automatically puts it, out there for you every day is because they do show up when, people may kind of panic, or sometimes I'll find myself going, it's at low of day. Okay, well, it's actually not even below pre-market lows. So keeping those levels in mind are very important. And then as far as gap zones, gap fills, there's a saying, all gaps get filled, right? Not immediately, but they generally tend to. And that is when price is, this is kind of one of the hardest concepts to explain to people who are new to trading. It's just, oddly enough, but whenever price opens in a different spot than it closed the previous day, not that difficult, but on the chart, there's a space of price action that just appeared to have never been touched. And if it was in after hours volume on very after hours on lower volume, right? So generally those spots, you'll see very quick movement through those spots going forward.
Yeah, and a lot of times, because some people will run so many indicators, they're hard to spot. If you turn your indicators off on a daily and turn extended hours off, you'll see those gaps pretty clear. And you'll be hard pressed to go back and find ones that have not filled. Yeah, and if they haven't, take note.
Those are always great ones to map on your chart. Always great ones to just have there and keep them there, because they show up over time. They come back. And then, if you see notes on flow, Twitter X is a great place to see some people posting options flow. I do it from time to time, but
that's something I don't have and I've never really done, but I pay attention to it a little bit more with Cheddar Flow and some of them that I follow. They'll post an unusual event, or all of a sudden massive volume pulling into some ridiculous number that might be 2 weeks out, a month out, whatever. And it's interesting because in the last probably 3 months, I've been watching those. and making note. And some of them I've actually gotten into. Thought, well, and I don't get in. I'll take one or two contracts just so it's on my screen, and I'm paying attention to it. And man, they move. There's somebody
Yeah.
knows something. Somebody's, you're not dropping $2 million on an options call for a specific date for no reason. And some of them can be sweeps, and there could be other things tied into it. But for the most part, when they're that big of a they just stick out like a sore thumb. Something's going on. Somebody knows something. Maybe it's just somebody hoping something, or maybe somebody's doing that to hope they can draw others in. I don't know. But from watching them the last few months, it's very interesting. They almost always come to fruition. They may not be on the expiration date either. They may be just pumping it up right now, getting in, and might be out that same day or the next day, even though they were 3 weeks out on the expiration. But it's something to keep note of. And I mean, all of those are pretty much paid. I think we actually have a discount, don't you, for was it Cheddar Flow?
Yeah, for Cheddar Flow. If
Yeah,
you use
so
save
you can
15.
sign up and save some money on it and try it out, or subscribe to them on X and watch what they put out, because they'll post 2 or 3 times a day, and just pay attention to it. I see some value in it. I'm not big in it. It's something new to me that I've not spent a lot of time with at this point.
Yeah, it's just do some Chat GPT research on how options flows works and what would be considered unusual.
Yeah.
But I bet you if you go look at USAR and you go look at weekly calls for today or Monday or this upcoming week, I bet you they were absolutely hammered. You understand? I mean, wild guess. Guaranteed.
USAR is interesting. I don't think I've ever looked at that.
Well, I mean, it's I actually owned some shares in it last week, of which I disposed of after a 10% gain, and then it's going to be up 50% tomorrow. But anyways, okay, on to the next slide. This one I know a lot of people overlook. Economic data, and we've shared our sources before on FinViz. Acker, you love FinViz.
Yeah, I use that quite a bit because you can get it for free. I think I still have a paid subscription on it.
Prescription.
I am prescribed. It is my daily drug. No, I use it for a few reasons. I pay for it, and it probably shouldn't anymore because I used it a lot more in the past for the scanner. It has a really good scanner that you have to be subscribed to save your, whatever you want to call it, your presets, so to speak. But you can, it's just unlimited on what you can set when you get a couple of good sets on the scanner. And I don't use it as much anymore because that goes back really to when I was buying, looking for the next best thing that nobody's ever heard of type nonsense that I don't do anymore since I'm strictly trading options now. But it's good it gives you the economic data every day. You can advance forward a week, 2 weeks, a month. It tells you unusual I forget what they call it. It's like high volume trades that have happened from an executive at a company. So if Elon's selling Tesla, it'll show up in there as it gets reported. So you can kind of see something's going on with this company. There's a bunch of the higher ups that are buying or selling. There's a lot of little things on that website. We'll put a link in the description after we post this up tonight.
Yeah.
But what you're going through is literally everything that I've got on a sheet that I worked up too. So when we get through this, I'll just go through what my Sunday night ritual is, basically, to give you an idea of how I go through all these things that we're talking about. It's pretty simple, and you can do it. And when you get good at it, you can do it in 30 minutes.
Yeah, and post that on the Beyond the Trade X account. And remember, everybody, follow Beyond the Trade X account. Subscribe here, like the video while you're at it, hit the bell.
Yes, please.
Follow us, give us a rating wherever you listen, all of that.
Would love to see some more comments. Let us know if we missed something today, something you do as a ritual to get ready for the week or what have you, or what your routine is. Let us know. Put it in the comments.
Yep, we love them comments. Love them. of course, always check your economic calendar if you're trading or have any big positions. And then when you see something that could be a big thing, whether it be an interest rate meeting, an FOMC.
How many of you didn't know that? That's coming up this week.
Right?
Fed rate decision Thursday.
And with that decision comes the Jerome Powell's press conference. And, always keep in mind your sizing when you're going into that. And just know, this is an event that increases volatility. And with volatility comes emotion. So this all plays together, folks. Catalysts define the timing, not the direction.
Nice. What a great statement.
Thank you. But yeah. What last week, what price action told us last week is basically that this is a news-driven market right now. This is a news-driven market. And the market was trading in a range, and just know, well, honestly, any market is a news-driven market, but particularly right now, and particularly when tariffs are being threatened, and you could be listening to this for 5 years in the future, and maybe we have no tariffs in this country, but still, news always drives the market. The Fed always drives the market until it's abolished. Whatever your yields are on your bond, your 10-year is higher. Yeah, that's not great for your tech companies, right? It's not great for your mortgage rates, So following those, at least getting an idea on those things and kind of feeling out maybe some commentary from sources who may be more knowledgeable than us. And then
there might be a few.
Yeah, maybe just a couple. Maybe just like one, or maybe half a person. I don't know.
And news is the thing, man. It can change. You could be up on 20 things in your account and one piece of news, and you end the day big red. News
big
is
red.
King. It does drive the market on an instantaneous basis. It changes the market now. It may go back and calm down, and people, but you're talking people that are spending hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of dollars, that when they hear news they don't like, they start taking their money out. That makes a big change in the market.
And
big change.
That's what can break you from chop into a trend. So whenever you see, if you're chopping, some big news happens, that's when you're going to, the longer the base or the longer the consolidation, sometimes and oftentimes the bigger and the more aggressive the following move will be.
Yeah.
And so, and if there's a whipsaw, like we did see this past week, where people, where we threatened tariffs, and of course, the taco trade, Trump always chickens out, and that happened, and the market then rips back up. Well, you probably just, a lot of shorts probably just got trapped there, and this may just propel us to all-time highs again. So We'll have to see. We'll just have to see, and we never know. You never know.
And as you get into it, you start watching those, and okay, man, I actually kind of like those days, especially if I'm not in a lot of plays. Most of mine are not long-term anyway, but because now everything's at a discount again. Drive the market down, drive it. I'm fine with that. Again, if I'm not in a massive play, it's okay, but it gives you many opportunities to get back in at a level that you probably already had marked previously.
So just remember, going into this week, we're not here to predict. We're here to use probabilities that we see, highest probability setups, and if they don't present themselves, we don't trade. We sit on our hands. And we have predefined risk, not just a predefined reward that we already think we're going to get, and then we execute based on our plan. And of course, because we have a plan, and because we have our probabilities and our risk management, it's a repeatable framework that can be repeated over and over and over. And it's the exact same structure that we use every single day, every single week, every single month. And ideally, that translates to green more than it does red. There's no guarantees, but that's the hope.
The more prepared you are, the more wins you're going to have, or the smaller your losses will be. And, it's a quick breakdown of what I do. Now, we do this podcast on Sundays. And to get ready for it, typically I'll spend an hour or so ahead of time looking at charts to come up with our Sunday banger thing or to make note of something we want to talk about. But for me, it's on Sunday evenings. I'll go through and first thing, I mean, you kind of think of it as it's a weather report. It's a roadmap. It's no athlete goes to the game on game day without being prepared. They've looked at film of the opposing team. They know, a baseball player, a pitcher knows what every batter does, what he likes, what he doesn't like, if he's going to right field, left field. I mean, all these things have been studied, and they do it for a reason. It gives them an edge, and that's the same thing that you'll get if you prepare Sunday night, or if God bless you if you get up early enough Monday mornings. I don't. You can do it Monday morning, but I'll start going through all of my charts on my chart list, and I'll look at them. I'll start usually on a daily, and if I see something I like, I'll break it down to an hourly, then I'll look at it on the 5 minute to see what it did this previous week. If it's something I like or I see something that's at a main level, I'll write it down. And don't get overwhelmed with it. 3 to 5 are plenty. I mean, you can do as many as 10, I guess, but I wouldn't go crazy with a bunch of them. Find the ones you like, write them down. Look at the news for those. And you can, I'm sure most of you know, and most of you are on X. If you go on to X in the search bar and put in the $ in your ticker, there's the FinTwit, where you'll find everything that anybody's ever talked about on that ticker. See what the new news is. What are people talking about on it? Then I'll look at economic data, see what's coming up this week. And I have a separate sheet of paper. I'll just write it down. Tuesday this, Wednesday that. And they're not all that important. The reason I like the FinViz one was they give it to you in a color code. So anything red is high alert type thing or most important. The other thing is look at earnings. What's coming out this week on earnings? I typically shy away from playing a stock that has earnings coming out within the next couple of days. It's just too volatile, and a lot of times it makes no sense. You get a company that kills earnings and the stock dumps. Nobody's ever been able to explain that to me in a way that I believe it anyway. And then I'll look at last week's movers and losers, big moves for the previous week, what might continue, what maybe made a run that I think might be coming back down. We already said this week we got Fed decisions on Thursday. And this is the start of the next earnings season. So for the next 2 weeks, you've got all the big players that are reporting earnings. I think Tesla, Microsoft is maybe Wednesday, Apple Thursday. So a lot of big ones coming out. Beyond that, I'll go through my watch list. I look for patterns, themes, and levels, and I mark those down. Then I have my list of 3-5 stocks that I'm looking at, and I'll also go through, and I assume most people use TradingView. I don't know that that's true, but as I set levels in TradingView, and for this week, I'll also set an alert. So when it hits that level, it alerts me because I'm not usually watching 5-10 different stocks at the same time. But when something hits, it sends you an alert. I can pop over to it, look at it, go, okay, it's hit my level. What's it doing? Do I want to get in or do I not? So we scan for news. I think in preparing, if you're not big news junkies, the other thing is if you go to like Yahoo Finance, you can get your financial news, business news. You can search whatever. I don't care if it's Fox, CNN, MSNBC, whatever. Find your political news, what's going on there. All these things will have some effect on different sectors of the market for sure. But that's it. Then I'm done for Sunday night when I have that list built and I have my levels, and I've made a few notes on those, say 5 stocks. Monday morning, about 15 minutes before the bell, I'm now looking at pre-market. What did it do? What changed? And if there's been a big move, I'm going typically on to X and doing the $ TSLA. What happened to Tesla? Why is it up $8 overnight? See what's going on with it, make a note, look at my levels, readjust them if I need to. And at that point, I'm ready to get into Monday morning trading. I've got a handful of stocks that I'm watching. I know where I want to be on them, where the high, the low, the entry points, and all that good stuff. And I'm ready to go. I have a game plan now. And what's your ritual, Adam?
My ritual is usually to stay up late in bed looking at charts on my phone, and my ritual is to do
sad life you lead.
Is to do this podcast, and then no, but actually I have ruled phone no longer in bed. That is not a thing. It does not happen anymore.
Okay.
It's tech does not infiltrate the bed, but just as soon as I get out of it, it can be used. No, I generally will just look at what's before the market opens. I will look at what has moved the most, and generally those sectors correlate to each other, what's not moving. And then I kind of I'll pick 2 or 3 that I think are in a position to move in a big way. And I will then watch them when they open. And also a lot can be told from the way that they move right before the bell opens or the market opens. A lot can be told from that. But I like to see how things interact with their key levels kind of right at open and see if things, how they feel, if they're weak or strong. Generally, you see what sectors are moving together. I like to look between. I'm a semiconductor guy. I like to look between the different tech stocks and see what's moving, what's not. Is AI moving? Is AI not? And then find out the story why. If you're kind of thinking bigger picture, I'm not really preparing like crazy every single morning, right?
Yeah.
But if I was day trading options, I would be, right? But if I'm in a AI stock, I'm of course going to be tracking. I'm going to go look at the data center stocks. I'm going to look at Microsoft, Oracle. I'm going to look at NVIDIA. I'm going to look at AMD, CoreWeave, all of Tesla. I'm going to look at everything and see, okay, well, what's the story that the market is trying to tell me? Because it's not necessary. I try not to pay attention to news headlines too much, because really the chart and the story behind each of these individual stocks is really what tells the story to me.
Yeah, you're right. On most of my research is done Sunday night, but being that I'm trading options, at the end of every day, at some point in the evening, I'll usually go back if I have, again, and I don't keep a big list. I have a lot on my watch list, but the ones that I've marked that I'm interested in, if I've got 5 of them, I'll go in there sometime in the evening and look at them and, okay, here, this did that, make notes, and I'm ready at that point for pre-market the next day. Doesn't take a lot of time. I don't want to make it sound like it's a daunting task to do. Once you get used to it, you can do your Sunday night research in 30 minutes, and you can do your dailies in 5 minutes. Unless you're some psycho that likes to go through every single stock, and I don't know why you would do that. I used to be a psycho.
Well, we are both very much psychos. We are psychos.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty much what I got. I think the biggest point is if you're not doing any of this prep, man, you do it and watch the change in your trading.
Yeah, and exactly. And in the spirit of knowing that there's big events coming up this week and sitting on your hands, I have made the executive decision to make this episode purely about education, and there will be no Sunday bangers today.
No Sunday bangers.
There will be no Sunday bangers today. to encourage you that your banger should be patience.
Oh, look at that.
And
Sunday, patience.
to follow Beyond the Trade on X, on YouTube, on Spotify. Give us a 5-star rating and comment that Mike's hair looks good today.
Well, thank you.
I can't see it. It's a wild guess. Probably
Get a haircut
doesn't.
Tuesday. No, it
Probably.
doesn't.
Well, okay, maybe he will look good. I don't
It's
know.
long. You get a hair. It'll look good Tuesday.
But
Getting ready for a little vacay next week. End of the
yeah,
week.
everybody enjoy your week, and we will be off next weekend, and we're going to make sure that the next weekend has an absolute banger of an episode. So follow along,
Yes.
or else you're
Like-
going to miss a lot.
Like, subscribe, make some comments. Let us know you're listening. We see you out there.
And if you don't like the video, it
Blame
means
it
that
on-
Mike's hair looked bad.
Blame it on Adam.
All righty.
All right, folks. Thanks for listening. We'll see you in, well, I guess, 2 weeks.
All righty.
Later.